Welcome to Cut the Crop, keeping you in the know about everything you grow. Researchers, growers and other interesting folk delivering insights and information on topics ranging from agronomy to profitability. Brought to you by the Foundation for Arable Research.
Hello and welcome. My name's Alison Stewart and I'm your host of Cut the Crop. And today we're doing a little bit of a sort of harvest update from our South Island growers. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the North Island and we just didn't think it was appropriate to be contacting some of our growers in those regions. So we're just going to focus on catching up with our South Island growers. So the first one that we're chatting to is Grant Duff, who farms in North Otago. Hello, Grant, welcome.
Yeah, hi Alison, it's good to see you this morning.
Yep. Okay, so I guess maybe just start off with by talking about like what your farm enterprise is. What are the crops that you grow, and where are you based in North Otago?
Okay, we're based half an hour inland of North Otago. We're on a North Otago Irrigation Company water, mostly irrigated farm. We winter dairy cows on fodder beet, and we grow spring and autumn wheat, oats and grass seed, and a range of other small crops, a few beef cattle as well. What we do.
So, I mean, obviously, I don't think we can talk about anything in agriculture in New Zealand at the moment without talking about the weather. So, down your way, has the weather been good to you?
As far as our yields has gone, I think we've had quite a wet summer, which has kept the irrigators off, which is a big relief. Harvest wise, it's been really favourable. We've got some rain this morning, which hopefully will allow us a fire permit, maybe if we're lucky, to get some residue burnt. So hopefully we're about a third of our way through our grain harvest, which has gone really quite well so far. But yes, if we could have some more clear weather to carry on with that, we'd be quite happy.
Yeah. It's always that issue, isn't it, in New Zealand agriculture? Some regions have good weather and some regions have terrible weather. And you just hope that it's not the terrible weather every year. So last year you had a reasonably good harvest as well, I think, down there.
Last year our grain harvest went quite well. As far as the weather went, we didn't have a very good weather run. I think further south got a much better run of weather than we did. But no, we've certainly used our grain dryers and grass seed drying trailers quite regularly last year.
Yeah. So are you moving much of your grain off farm yet?
No, I haven't started moving. I've got most of my wheat is going to the Timaru flour mill, which will happen later in the year, and I've got some to go to the Waka White Chook farm, which there was talk was going to go soon, but I don't know whether it will now or not.
Yeah. And what about, like farmers roundabout? Are they tending to have similar reasonably good yields?
I think so. I don't think the yields are exceptional. I think they're quite good, all the same. Guys with the barley, the crops definitely look very good. A lot of them are just getting into their barley now. So another week or so we'll be able to tell you more.
Yeah. So what's your plan then for the next planting season?
Well, it would seem it's going to be less grass seed growing. So probably more wheat, autumn wheat possibly, than grass seed. We'll probably look to fill the area with some more cereals. We've got 1 or 2 wheat clover crops that are looking quite promising. So we may, and this clover's a bit of a newbie for me, so we may have another look at the clover going forward. And then obviously springtime will happen when it happens, and will probably involve more forage crops of some sort.
Okay. Yeah.
Possibly some beef cattle, an increase in beef cattle. And
the rationale for that? I mean, you've got some dairy grazing. What's the rationale for bringing the beef cattle on?
They're a wee bit more flexible, sort of help manage some of the weed issues that are starting to pop up. Flexibility is probably the biggest thing they'll bring in. We already have a few. We'll just increase the numbers slightly, so it won't be a big increase.
Yeah. So in
Yeah.
general, reasonably upbeat about the current situation for you guys down there?
Yeah, we are at the moment. I didn't sort of expect the dairy payout to stay as high for as long as it has, and that's probably one reason that I'm bringing beef cattle in, is because if the dairy payout drop, the grain price might drop. So that's when beef cattle become a bit more good to have around.
Yeah.
It's hard to move grain.
Yeah. So,
You know,
I mean, any big issues, that are front of mind for the growers down there?
weather-wise, we're pretty lucky so far.
Yeah.
This year we're lucky.
Yeah. And you just take it. I mean, the weather is so unpredictable, you can't control it. So when you get reasonable weather, just be happy. Just take it.
This year we're blessed.
Yeah.
Next year will be different.
Yep, as always. Okay,
Yeah.
Hey, thanks very much, Grant. Our second grower that we're going to have a chat to is Matt McEvedy, whose farm's just sort of in Southbridge. So, hi, Matt. How are you today?
Well, thank you, Alison.
Yeah.
How are you?
So tell us a little bit about your farm enterprise, and then we'll talk about what's been happening in this season.
So we're a cropping farm, as you say, in Southbridge. We grow a variety of grass, grain, and seed crops, as well as a few processed vegetables, and run a bit of livestock in the mix.
So how's it been going then? Has this been a good season for you guys?
As far as harvest goes, it's been sort of a dream run, to be honest. We've had the weather when we wanted it, and rain the rest of the time. So we had 30 mils last week from that cyclone. Sort of spilled down, and 10 mils overnight just now. So helping out a lot. And grass and grain seems to be done over most of our district, which everyone's pretty excited about. And now we're just waiting on specialty crops to come in.
So the yields were reasonably good. What kind of yields were you getting for your grain and your seed crops that you've done?
Wheat was above average. We were sort of hovering around those 12s. I've been hearing some other people with some pretty special numbers, but everyone seems pretty positive.
Yeah.
And grass-wise, it's always hard to tell until it goes through a dresser. So, but there seemed to be a lot coming off the fields, which is good too.
Yeah. So you haven't got anything moving off the farm yet, though, have you?
Grain-wise?
Yeah.
No, we haven't shipped any yet, but there is interest from the mills, I've been told, in getting some moving. Pretty keen to get the samples in.
So in general, the mood is reasonably upbeat because we didn't have a brilliant harvest last year. So this year it's a little bit more positive.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of ground to make up this year, and it looks like we've had the weather on our side this year, which has allowed everybody to get the crop in its best state, and hopefully make a good fist of it, and also getting things in as smartly and as easily as we have this year. It's allowing us to get our crops in for next year in a reasonably good fashion as well.
Okay, so what are you planning then for this for next year? What are you going to be planting?
So we're putting a bit more. We're putting grass seed in the next couple of weeks. A paddock of clover, and a lot of our green feed crops are going in over the next couple of weeks as well.
So is there anything sort of at front of mind for growers in your region at the moment? I mean, is there any issues that are concerning them?
I think people are a wee bit worried about the amount of grain floating around. As you say, the yields have been pretty special, and obviously there's going to be some relatively full silos, so people are looking to market that excess at the moment. But at the moment we're sort of waiting for a week or two for these vegetable seed crops to come in, and hopefully we can get them harvested as well.
Great. Thanks very much, Matt. So our third grower that we're going to have a chat with is Blair Drysdale, who farms just outside Balford in Southland. Hi, Blair. How are you?
Good morning, Alison. Are you well?
Yeah. Just tell us a little bit about your farm enterprise and what you're doing at the moment, what crops you've had in, and then we'll just talk about in general how the season has gone.
Yeah, look, we are a mixed farming operation of arable and livestock still, so dairy grazing and hogget grazing and some of our own breeding ewes. So, that's guts of our operation, and bit of tulips in there as well, leased out some of that ground, and yes, the hemp operation on the side.
Yeah, gosh, pretty diverse. So just talk us through then how it's gone for you this season. You know, what have you harvested and what have you still got to harvest?
So we got through the canola and autumn barley in early to mid-January. So autumn barley here for us was very good yields. Came off nice and plump for autumn barley, where we can tend to be a little bit light with high screening. So it was very good. Canola was a bit of a mixed bag for me. We struggled right back since establishment last autumn because it was too dry. We've struggled with dry autumns and establishing canola, so those yields were a bit average. And then, this month we've had a dream run right since their last rain was Waitangi Day, and it's of course rained last night. We had nothing in between, so we've had a very good stint to get well through the wheat. So, I haven't got much wheat left at the moment. There's about 25 hectares left, and I think around the district everyone's getting pretty well through their wheat. So it's been very much a dream harvest for us. Not a lot of nor'west, but a lot of nice hot sunny days. So, it's been pretty easy.
Yeah, and is that mainly milling wheat, or is that for animal feed? Where are you putting most of your wheat?
So most of our wheat here and in Southland is for feed wheat. I have done a wee bit of milling wheat for there's a bit of a trial for some cafes in McEvedy who want to do it direct from farmers. So, and we'll go down that route again next season. But most of the wheat in Southland is for feed wheat, that's for sure. And even the barley. I don't think there's much malting barley grown in Southland either. Yeah.
Okay. And so in general, you've been reasonably happy with how it's gone so far?
Yeah, look, wheat's been a bit of a mixed bag. We had right through flowering was very wet and overcast. Same through the grain fill period was very wet. I think we just lacked a bit of sun. Some varieties there was a lot of pinch grain. Others are fat and plump. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag. But I think I'll be slightly above average again. And from what I'm hearing around the district, everyone else is probably around just slightly above average too. So all in all, I think everyone's pretty happy. I certainly am with where yields are. I've got storage issues, so that's always a good complaint.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So what have you still got in the ground that's still got to be harvested?
Yeah, like I say, just a little bit of wheat. There's one paddock of spring barley, which should all be done hopefully by the end of this month. And then we'll have quite a long gap until we harvest the hemp, which will be around about the 20th of March, maybe slightly later. So it was late in. So what else? I forget peas earlier on. Peas were actually they were a disaster for everyone around this area. We had a lot of thunder plumps during establishment for peas, and some guys sowed 3 times. So for a lot of people, they were either close to a write-off or, yields a lot lower than typical. So, they've been a struggle this year. They just haven't liked with thunder plumps right through November, December, and even into early January. So they didn't enjoy that at all.
Yeah. So what's the rationale for growing hemp? I mean, you contracting that for oil or for fibre or...
No, so that's all for our own business, for our Hopefield hemp business. We weren't satisfied with sending everything out the gate as commodity, so we decided to try something different. So, we'll harvest that late March, dry it, store it, and then process that through the winter and the cooler months.
Yeah, and that's going well for you guys?
Very well. Very satisfying. Just growing somewhat organically. So it's ticking along really nicely. A few new projects on the go this year. A few new products to come out. So just doing one of them at the moment. So it's pretty exciting. Okay. Very motivating, and like I say, it's the satisfaction that we get out of it is the big one. Yes, it's a business and it has to pay its way, but it's very satisfying.
Okay, we need to come and talk to you more about that. I'd forgotten that you did that. Yeah, that's another podcast, Blair, where we're going to talk about that in more detail. Anyway, so what are your plans for next season then? What's your rotation going to look like?
Yeah, look, we're just changing our rotation a wee bit. We're struggling with some grass weeds and have probably relied a little bit too heavily on chemistry for the last 3 or 4 years. So put some more spring crops in and take a more cultural approach to dealing with some of those grass weed problems. So yeah, we're changing the rotation again. So next year I'm putting in a bit of linseed, perhaps some buckwheat, putting some more spring barley in one part of the rotation. The brome is a big one that I've been trying to get on top of, and I've been pretty heavy-handed this year to get on top of it, as far as even spraying chunks of paddocks out that were heavily infested, just to try and get on top of it, because if we don't curb that one, or at least try to keep it under control, it's going to be pretty destructive to crops long term.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole weed management space, because of the issues around herbicide resistance and everything like that, I think all growers are going to have to start looking at a slightly different management practice to be able to keep on top of these sort of weed problems. And as you know, FAR's got, a big program of work in this space. So as far as, your farmer colleagues around the region, it's reasonably good. And no big issues, concerning the growers in your region at the moment. I mean, if you're complaining in the pub, what is it that you're complaining about?
Look, I think in general, the Arable guys haven't worried about the lack of rain, but we're all happy to see it. I think one of the biggest things recently actually has been the fire risk. I'm a volunteer fireman, and so a lot of the Arable growers around here, and we've had quite a few fires. So in the combine, lost just last week. So yeah, it has been a high risk environment, just even things as simple as mowers starting fires and that. So there's been a lot of awareness around that, and everyone's probably had their fire trucks pretty handy to the combine this season, that's for sure. So that's definitely been a big one. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, Blair. So last grower that we're going to talk to today is Brian Leadley, who farms sort of near the coast, just north of Ashburton. So hi, Brian, how are you today?
Yeah, great, thanks, Alison. Taking on good. Well, could be better. We've actually got a bit of rain here today, which I could live without. I'm sure there's others enjoying it.
Well, exactly. And we've had this discussion with the other growers that it's not the actual, rain that's good or bad. It's when you get it that determines whether it's good or bad. So
exactly,
anyway,
and often the weather between the rains as well.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your farm enterprise and what you've been doing this harvest.
Yep, cool. So we're Canterbury Plains, obviously based on a spray irrigated property just north of Ashburton. We're 450 odd hectares of crop. We crop the whole farm and then do livestock finishing programs. So where we're at the moment, we're probably a bit over 2/3 of the way through our harvest, ticking along reasonably good. I guess we talked of the weather, the one that we've battled a wee bit with, and we have to be careful because the cyclone affected so many so terribly badly, but it did play havoc with humidity and just held us up a wee bit with some of our grass seed harvest, but we're pretty much cleaned that up now and get into cereals, and pretty happy with the way harvest is going, all things considered, really. I don't think it was an exceptionally good spring, and given the way the spring went, I think actually yields are coming off really quite good, and quality of grains and seeds at this stage looks really positive. So pretty pleased with all that, actually.
So what kind of yields have you been getting?
So we've had ryegrass that have been ranging sort of 2 tonne on the lower end through to about just shy of 3 tonne delivered. So there'll be a bit of dress and loss on that, but days we've been harvesting grass seed, been beautiful, hot, sunny days, and that helps get good feed through the combine, get a good sample. So we don't expect exceptionally high dress and loss. There's always got to be some, I guess. Cereal yields, we're pretty much all milling and a bit biscuit here. So, we've been getting yields, probably the Duchess sort of around that 10.5, 10.75 tonne to the hectare, I think, which we're pretty happy with. We've done a wee bit of late winter planted on that. We haven't done the spring yet. It'll probably be back a wee bit, but it's looking really good.
Yeah.
And then the Ignite, Voltron we grew this year, it's sort of come in just around 13.5. So really pleased with that.
So what have you still got to harvest?
We grow a wee bit of later crop as well. So some of the area we put in is buckwheat that went in after processed peas. The peas were harvested sort of mid-December. So we've got about 28, 29 hectares of that. That'll probably be done sort of mid to late March. We grow a bit of evening primrose as well, which been enjoying this sunny weather, flowering really well. It's another one that's late harvested, probably be into April. And then we've actually still got one paddock of red clover and one of white to do, and a couple of paddocks a week. And then we're sort of getting pretty well cleaned up. So our harvest drags on a bit in the autumn, those late ones. But the primrose is a pretty woody old plant. Doesn't seem to be a major problem later on. Yeah.
And so tell me a little bit about that. How did you get into that?
It was an opportunity we came across actually Barrenbrook or AgriSeed in the day. Had it as a bit of a sideline to a company that they worked with overseas. It was a crop that interested us a wee bit. Just spreading the workload and the timing. Started at a time where we were really stretched with irrigation. Primrose likes a bit of water, but it's later in the season, and it was a way for us to kind of utilise irrigation water at a time other crops are maturing off and not needing water. So it spread our workload and our water demands, and so that got us into growing it a number of years ago. And it's a market that's relatively small, but reasonably stable. It has its ups and downs a wee bit, but like other things, we have managed to get the price up a bit. Needed to. Costs continue to go up. I've just been through emails this morning, and 2 emails come in this morning of different companies putting charges up midway through the season because of increased costs. So we're needing to watch those carefully. So product looks is good. And it's worthy of noting now. We're just, I guess, the next stage we're moving into is trying to get autumn plantings done, grasses in, weed of clover, and planting our wheat. And so we talk heavily about trying to push prices up, but sometimes we don't get much say on that. So it's important to check yield potential. If the price is fixed, you need to look carefully at what yield potential of some of the particular grass varieties and large leaf clovers and things. What they can do. Yeah. Can't influence price. I guess yield is the other key component.
Absolutely. So the other farmers in your district, they are feeling reasonably upbeat as well?
Yeah, I think they are on the whole. Yeah, I guess we're all looking for a good harvest after last year, and most have sort of seemed really happy with it and really quite positive the way the harvest has gone. Quite a lot is done now. Probably, I'd think the cereals, the autumn sown stuff is largely all done now. It's really just the spring, your barleys and spring sown wheats, and there's not a lot of that in our area. Most of the wheat now is probably earlier autumn or early winter planted in our area. But yeah, guys are getting through and seem really quite happy and comfortable with how it's gone from the harvest perspective, which is pleasing to see, really good.
So is there sort of any big ticket item that's on growers' minds at the moment?
I guess machinery is always something that arable growers are looking at carefully of how they're set up capability-wise for getting their work done. Windrowing is one that we personally battled a wee bit with this year. The job that we've got and lumps and rows and stuff has left it a wee bit challenging. While we didn't get a lot of rain, if those lumps are too big and get a wee bit of moisture in them, they just seem really difficult to dry out. Talked to a few guys, particularly after last season. Quite a lot have gone back to mowing rather than windrowing to see if we can get those row sizes down a little bit better to help dry in the field. There's always the debate as to what's hardest on seed loss at cutting time, whether mowing or windrowing is the best option. And everybody has their views. I've talked to a couple of guys who said, no, mowing is just as gentle on the crop and easier to harvest or dry and get on to harvest. So quite a few have set up equipment for doing that. Wee bit of cost in that, I guess, because you want narrow wheels on your tractor to get down between the rows. So that's one that's been looked at around about a bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, with respect to sort of, next season, you're basically just doing, part of your rotation. There's no major changes that you're implementing on farm? No,
we're not. We're looking carefully clover is one that we've struggled over the years to get consistent yields on, but there's obviously a wee bit of pressure on ryegrass area this year. Contract area is back a wee bit, particularly in that multiplication, demand on nuis and things like that. But clover, on the other hand, still seems really short, and some pretty good pricing on that. So we're looking reasonably carefully on varieties that we think can deliver a bit of yield for us still. Some of those larger leaf ones we find a wee bit challenging to get consistency in that yield. So we're just looking a wee bit, possibly dropping the grass area and a little bit more clover in the system. Trying to judge where spring options might sit. We try to keep around about a third of the farm or just under into spring plantings, and the rest is sort of autumn grasses, clovers, and then the earlier cereals. So I think we're looking to try and retain reasonably static, but we probably will be back a wee bit in grass. I think, talking to a few others around about, potentially cereal plantings could be a wee bit larger because of the grass dropping back. Cereals have gone pretty good for guys this year. Hopefully that market and the current pricing holds pretty static. The mills seem fairly positive, like they're going to be continuing to look for a reasonable area, and feed markets still look positive. So hopefully that demand stays up and pricing can hold pretty good.
Yeah, excellent. Good. Thanks a lot, Brian. That was a great update from you. So thank you, and have a good day on the farm. And thank you to the listeners. Have a safe day on the farm, I think, is the best thing to say.
Thanks for tuning in to Cut the Crop, presented to you by FAR. If you'd like to know more about any of the topics discussed or have any suggestions for future topics, go to www.cutthecrop.co.nz.